Hello and welcome to the Soul Shaking Love podcast. I'm Valerie Green from coachvaleriegreen.com. And this podcast is dedicated to bringing you the world's expert teachers on how to create a mind, body, and spirit connection, both with yourself and with your true love. And so today I'm really excited to bring Giovanna Silvestre. Hello. Nice to have you
Hello.
on.
So happy to be here.
Yes, thank you. And I think that's a really appropriate time. This podcast is going to be online forever, of course, but we're probably releasing it around the time that she's going to release her new book, which is May 13th of 2025. It's called Confused Girl, Find Your Peace in the Chaos. And that is Giovanna's brand. I'll tell you a little bit about her. And that's what the talk is going to be about, really cultivating resilience, lessons from life's confusing moments. And I think that right now, just given all the changes that are happening in the world, we don't even need to name what those are, right? A lot of us are confused. And Giovanna she has a very inspiring story, which she'll share during this interview. She's a leading lifestyle and wellness influencer and creator of the international activewear brand Confused Girl in the City. And her book is really a part memoir and part education because she really understands the turbulence of the modern world firsthand. And to all the women in the world who feel stuck, unworthy, and lost, this is who she speaks to, that confusion is the first stepping stone on your path to becoming an empowered warrior, as she says. And now she's here to guide women towards breaking free and boldly, confidently pursuing their dreams. So I'm just loving all of these sound bites. And I would love to hear your story, just in a nutshell, really what inspired you to write Confused Girl, Find Your Peace in the Chaos? And how does it really reflect your personal journey, first of all?
Well, in my late 20s, I found myself in a really deep depression. And I had worked in Hollywood for a few years in my 20s. And I wanted to be a producer in Hollywood, and that was my dream. And then I was just like, oh my God, this industry is so toxic. And I've always been a very sensitive person, and I am a people pleaser. So
Mm,
I was able to move up really quickly. Um,
right.
but I just found myself very unhappy. And then I thought, okay, I don't want to do this. My parents actually owned a successful Italian restaurant 3 hours north of LA. So I thought, okay, I'll go home and take over the restaurant because I know they want to retire in the next few years. So I went home. I was there for 2 years working the restaurant, and I was miserable doing that. And my dad and I, he was a very stubborn, old school Italian man who didn't want to change things, and I wanted to make things a little more modern. And so we were constantly clashing heads. And so I thought, this isn't worth it. I'm not happy doing this, and this isn't my purpose in life to run the restaurant. And I love my dad so much. I don't want to have a bad relationship with him. So I was like, he's not ready to let this go anyway. So I'm gonna go back to Los Angeles and figure it out. And I came back to LA. I'd broken up with my boyfriend. I was unemployed, had no money, wasn't in the best place with my parents. And I just was just broken. I just didn't know who I was, what I wanted to do. And what I realized is that, uh, like, for all of those years, I had been doing things to please other people, doing things that I thought would look good, make me look good. But inside, I felt worthless. I felt like I was nothing. And then when all of those things were stripped away from me, and I no longer wanted to do any of those things, I was like, I am completely worthless. And it just put me into this really deep depression. And one of the really beautiful things that I made as a goal during this time was I realized why I was in this situation. I was like, okay, I've not been working on myself at all. I don't have I don't have any self-love. Well, maybe I had a tinge of self-love because what I'm about to say right now is self-love. So somewhere in me it was there. And I said to myself, I just want to feel worthy of existing just because I exist.
Yes.
I don't want to feel worthy because I have a new guy. I don't want to feel worthy because I have money. I don't want to feel worthy because I have a new career or some accolade I received. I want to feel good about me just for the mere fact that I exist in this world.
Yeah. I mean, I love that intention because I think most of us, if we're honest, we have these core limiting beliefs, and that's a huge one. It's either I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy, or I'm not lovable, usually.
Absolutely.
And good for you for having the courage to go to the root and say, that's my intention, is to be worthy no matter what, just because I exist.
Yeah, because I do believe that that is the truth. And so, I mean, you're here for some sort of reason. So I think understanding that there's understanding and then there's believing, right? So I was like, I want to believe this. I
Exactly.
understand this. I think this is true, but I want to really, with everything in me, I want to believe this. I want to feel this. So I kind of became like a monk, and I had reached such a point where I've had obsessive compulsive tendencies, and my brain was like operating like a record player. And the record it was playing was all of my shortcomings, a lot of self-loathing, and I couldn't change the record player. So
Right. Although you had a lot of awareness, I want to point that out. A lot of people don't even know that that record is playing, and so you had the awareness to recognize it. I want to, acknowledge that.
thank you. And I think I have that awareness because I do think I'm an old soul. Like I don't think this is my first rodeo. So and I think, yeah, right. And I think I'm meant to be here to kind of help this, to kind of help people going through this. Because I just from the time we're born, we're just told to believe in all these illusions. Like even like as a woman, right? How I grew up, but which this is changing is like, to get married gives you worth. To have a man gives you worth. It's almost like we're man washed, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, no, I know, I agree. And I'm a relationship coach, and so I love this topic because it's such a paradox. It's really not until we can 100% feel worthy no matter what and own our worth that then we reflect that with attracting people and being attracted to people that believe we're worthy. It doesn't go the other way. Meaning it's like our worth can't come from a man. And so many, and I have a lot of compassion for this belief that our worth comes from a man, because I think that it is based on the old paradigm of survival, right? Like when women didn't have power at all in society to work and make money and own property and vote, and then we did need a man for survival.
Mhm.
And so it wasn't that long ago that that was the case. And it is up to us to reprogram that belief. So, good
Yes.
for you for really taking that on.
Yes, no, thank you. And that's exactly it. And I actually write about that in my book as well. It's just a small section, but I do write about how our survival depended, like everything we had or needed came through a man.
Mhm.
So to shift that is very difficult because it's like almost in your DNA at this point. And then, I'm a millennial. So my parents were boomers and they were still that old school way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm the first generation. That's the new, like the newer way. And then, it's like half of the people I know went toward getting married and have kids, and then half of them are single. And listen, I think it's great to get married and have kids. Like I always wanted that. I just never met I haven't met anybody yet that I wanted to do that with. but I'm not against it at all. I think both ways are great. And, but I think for me, it's about finding your true nature and what you really desire, and then and loving yourself, and then going after what you want in life, whether that's a career, traveling the world, getting married, having children, whatever, becoming a nun, becoming a monk, whatever you want to do, but it's
Right.
about doing it with intentionality and like from the essence of your being,
Exactly.
and not just doing it because you're told to do it.
Hmm.
And that's the difference. That's the
Exactly.
difference between a happy life, a fulfilled life, and a miserable life where you feel trapped. That's the
Mm.
difference there. Because someone could have a life where they feel trapped. Someone else could have a very similar life where they feel fulfilled. So
Exactly.
it's about following what your soul truly desires.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I love what you're saying. And so I want to go back to your story and ask you, so how did you discover your worth then, regardless of what was going on around you or your relationship or your career, just for being alive?
Well, so I really do believe we all need alone time, and you need to cut out the distractions. And
Hmm.
so I very much the one thing about me is I'm very disciplined, which is such a gift, because even if
Hmm.
you're feeling depressed or whatever, if you still have that discipline, you can go, I'm going to get myself out of this somehow.
Yes, yes.
And
The
discipline's so
need of the to get out of depression. It's true, because there's clinical depression and there's situational depression. And so with situational depression, you still have it's around like, oh my God, nothing in my life is working, but how do I get out of it?
yeah,
It sounds like that's what you are in, and you have that gift of discipline to experiment with what happens when I do this, what happens when I do that, right?
exactly. And I do think there was this dark cloud. And it's kind of hard to say whether that's generational trauma. I think probably that's generational trauma. Because my dad was like a post World War II kid from Italy. So he grew up like super poor in Italy. And so, a lot of this stuff is like passed down. And so you're living with a shame, or you're living
Mhm.
with yeah, like this inherited shame where you just
Mhm.
feel shameful about everything and you didn't
Right.
even do anything wrong.
Right. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of people have intergenerational trauma like that.
Yeah.
And it's um pain that we need to feel and let go of, and then it's limiting beliefs to reprogram.
Exactly, exactly. And so that was all mixed up into one big thing, like with me. It was all of that. And so I became kind of like a monk in the four walls of my LA apartment. And what one amazing tool for me personally, and I think everybody needs to find their own tool, was yoga really helped. Because with my obsessive compulsive thinking, that was just programmed on negative, when I did yoga, and this was over a decade ago, yoga wasn't as mainstream. My roommate was doing a 30-day yoga challenge. And she's like, "Why don't you come with me? I think you'll really like it." So I went with her. And while I was doing it, I'm like, my brain, the negative thinking just stopped. I didn't even have to try. It just stopped. And then after yoga, there was this period of, quiet time. And then it picked back up again. But there was space. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is giving me space. I need to keep doing this, because if I keep
Mm.
doing it, maybe the space will grow. And so then I became a yogi. I was doing yoga all the time. And I also did walks in nature to let go of my shame. And I write about this in my book. I have a whole chapter on shame and guilt, and how to let that go. I would do this funny thing where I'd be walking along the beach, because I live close to the beach. And I would imagine like I'm holding a backpack that's full of all of my shame,
Hmm.
and I would put my back to the water and just like release it into the water, like very theatrically.
Yes. Yes. I've
You
done
know,
that too, actually.
really?
Yeah,
Because it's kind
I
of
have an Instagram post about me doing that from August of this year, and I'm not plugging myself, but getting shared reality, like that,
I
like
love
the
that.
the ocean is extremely cleansing.
Hmm.
Like if we shake it all off.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
Not that, your mileage may vary, of course. It's whatever you're ready to release. But when you're ready, it's, internal family systems has a ritual when they unburden old repressed pain that you release it to the elements as a
Yeah.
visualization, like to the ocean, or that it's burned away by fire, or released to the air. So I think working with senses like that, with visualization, when you're ready to let things go, is really powerful. And that's what I'm hearing is that you found ways of quieting your mind, like doing yoga and mindfulness practices and walking in nature. And then when your mind was quiet, that's when you could hear your inherent worthiness. And that's when you could realize that this shame you were carrying wasn't yours.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can release it
Yes.
physically through the body.
Yes, physically. And I wrote, like I told you, I have a whole chapter on shame and guilt in my book where I talk about this and where it comes from and how to deal with it. And so I would just do that every day, where it was these walks on the beach, and just release this like very
Mhm.
theatrically. And I started to feel lighter. I started to feel lightness in my being. This is the thing that I think a lot of people don't really understand, is by taking these small little actions. I also started a gratitude journal, which everyone talks about gratitude journals, but they work. And
Mhm.
I would write down, things I was grateful for every day, 5 things, even when I wasn't grateful. I wasn't grateful, but I wrote it down because I was trying to reprogram my brain.
Yep.
And like all of those things, doing that, letting it go to the ocean, writing down what you're grateful for in a gratitude journal, doing yoga, quieting the mind, trying to connect with your, inner spirit. All of these things, they like, it's incredible where you'll go with these things, like
Mhm.
how you'll feel. I never even knew it was possible to feel this good. Like, especially from where I was
Yeah.
hoping it would be possible because I was reading about it. I was reading lots of self-help books. I was watching YouTube videos. And I was like, I want to wake up one day and I want to feel that. I want to feel that joy. I want to feel that gratitude. I want to know what that feels like, because I think I maybe had very small moments where I had felt that in the past. I remember one time in Hawaii when I was in high school looking up at the sky and then just getting this kind of really like peaceful feeling. And another time when I was driving home from school, high school, it was in high school too, and I was looking at the hills and I got that feeling. But beyond those two very brief experiences, I mostly felt, if I'm being really honest, like a sadness and an anxiety and a worthlessness and a carrying of this shame my entire life. I mean,
Mhm.
not now, not the last decade, I don't feel that way, but that had been my internal world.
Right.
And it had gotten so bad to where I couldn't control the negative thinking anymore. And it was like, I'm dipping out of here or I gotta fix it. So it was like a fork in the road. It was like, I don't want to be here anymore. I
Mm.
can't fix this, or I gotta fix this. So
Right.
yeah, and so I just put all of myself into fixing this. I was like, I don't care about a man. I don't care about money. I don't care. Put it on credit cards. I don't care about a career right now. I need to get myself straight. And then I'll figure things out from there. And I think it was around 6 months I was doing this religiously. And one day I woke up and it was so crazy. I literally, and I was feeling better, it was like you get a little better, a little better. Um, and I woke up one day and I literally was just flooded. I think it was the Holy Spirit. I'm Catholic, so that's what I say is Holy Spirit, but it was like the Holy Spirit had like it was in me, and I just felt this joy and this gratitude. And I got on my bed and I started jumping up and down on the bed because I realized what I had just done.
Mhm.
Like I'm having a spiritual awakening here. Like I'm feeling the joy of the world. Like I'm feeling a
Yeah.
piece of in here instead of hell. Like this is awesome.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, it's, I was raised Protestant. And I believe that all religions have a piece of the truth.
Yes.
I'm very like non-denominational. And but all religions have some saying like the kingdom of heaven is within.
Yes.
Yoga says that that's Ananda,
Mhm.
inner bliss.
Yeah.
But all teachings say if you get rid of what Buddha calls the illusion, I'm trying to bring all the teachings into it, right?
Yes, yes, no, I agree with everything you're saying, by the way. Actually, the root of all religions is love. And then I think it gets messed up from there. But
Right, exactly. Love and presence so that we're in touch with the truth,
Mhm.
and the only universal truth is I am.
Yeah,
And everything else is a thought form that is true in this moment, but might not be in the next. And in that awareness, which it sounds like you got to, if you're able to discipline your mind to experience that, and it's like, I don't claim to be there all the time either, but I know what you're talking about. I aspire to that. And I do have experiences of that on a daily basis, but then, I'm still reintegrating all the other parts of me. um,
it's
but
a process. It's a process.
right, like exactly, and like I'm saying that because it's like I don't want people to think I have it all figured out either. Not that they do, um, but it's more like I'm just reflecting back that you found that. I Eckhart Tolle I think says it really well. It's like he was in this like chaos where he was self-destructing, and then he found that moment of presence
Yes,
where you recognize it's not that I am worthy because I exist. It's that all of life is worthy and I am all of life and I'm one with it. And
exactly.
I'm simultaneously unique and I'm here for a unique purpose. And, I'm also one with everything and I'm inherently worthy because I have all its creative power. Like that's how I would put that realization. How would you put it?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think this life is a bit of a game, right? And part of the game is having to go back and reconnect with that. And when you go back and reconnect with that, doors open. Opportunities come, inspiration comes, things start to open up for you. But when you go back to the illusion, then
Mm-hmm.
that's when walls come up, things don't go forward, disaster ensues.
Yep.
So it's do you hear that vacuum?
No.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Out in the hallway, they're vacuuming. So sorry if you hear it for a second, but they'll pass right along. So
Okay. If we do, we'll edit it out, but we're not. So
okay. Okay, good. Good, good, good. Um, but so I think like part of the goal of life is reconnecting with that truth. And that can be confusing.
well, exactly. I mean, I love this to bring it back to confusion because, in my opinion, and I want to hear yours, confusion is just recognizing that the way I've thought about things is actually missing something and it calls everything into question. And then I don't
Yeah.
know who I am anymore, and I don't know what life is anymore, and I don't know what life means anymore. And so that's we were talking before the interview, and what I said is my NLP teachers had a saying: confusion precedes growth, and it was SEEDS. So
Mm.
like it precedes growth.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Exactly. No, I realized that. And one of the interesting things, so why I ended up naming my brand Confused Girl in the City and then ended up writing this book, Confused Girl, is because I realized that without me feeling confused, the growth would have never happened.
Yep.
Like, if I wasn't asking myself, if I wasn't like, why am I depressed? Why do I feel unworthy? What is the truth? Why am I here? What do I really want to do? What do I really like? After I got out of the depression and I was feeling better and I had that awakening and, that amazing feeling went away, it dissipated, but there's always like a nugget of it inside me that I can tap back into. It never fully left. It never fully left. It's always something I can go back into, which I'm just so grateful for. That's amazing.
Mhm.
And so it's like my level of self-worth, self-love, peace went from like way down here to up here, and then as you just keep growing, it just keeps moving up, which is
Right.
which is so great. But where was I? Where was I? Oh, got it. So after I got out of the depression, I I thought, okay, I don't feel so bad anymore. I feel like I do have worth now, but I still don't know exactly what I like, what I don't like, what I want to do with my life, what I should do with my life. I didn't know. So I started a video blog called Confused Girl in the City on YouTube. And I did one new thing every week that I had never done before. And by doing this, I was hoping, okay, I'm going to find out stuff about myself through doing these things. I'm going to find out what I like, what I don't like, what excites me. And I did. And what I didn't know that it was going to do, which it did, was give me confidence as well. I I started to be much more confident in myself because when you put yourself outside of your comfort zone, even if it's a very small thing, like going to a dance class where you got to dance with other people and that's a little uncomfortable, you're building up your confidence to be able to handle yourself in different situations of life. And what that does to you is really a beautiful and incredible thing. So I always encourage people when they ask me, well, what are kind of the first steps to figuring out my purpose? I'm like, go do some new things. I mean, and I did, and I mean, I did things like I went bungee jumping. I did the flying trapeze. I did a boxing class. I did a salsa class. I did, all of these different things. And so I think that's so important and helps in so many different ways that we don't even recognize.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, all of those things that you mentioned were new activities to try. I imagine that your book also has additional suggestions, like maybe volunteering or,
Yes, it does
like
actually.
I haven't read your book because it's launching
Good
in May,
call.
but like really asking yourself, what are my values, and then what new activities can I try to express my values, and what nourishes me about that, right? And like that inquiry, I imagine, is
Exactly.
like I'm just intuitive, so I'm guessing that's what it was. And
Yes, no, absolutely. What doesn't feel good for me? Like, I went out with that guy, I did this and that doesn't feel good. So, then you go, I'm not going to do that again. But you don't need to kind of shame yourself, right? It's just like, that's not aligned with who I am.
right. Yeah. And then so how did that inquiry then lead you towards, you started the blog, and then you created a brand from there. So what were the pivotal moments that allowed you to recognize this is how I'm going to serve others with what I'm discovering?
Well, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. I was like, okay, I got myself out of this. I had this spiritual awakening, and I'm like, okay, I want to help other people. And the vlog was for myself, but it was also to share and to help others who are going through the same thing. And but I didn't know what my thing was to make money. So I just was working all of these part-time jobs. And actually the vlog started to make money. I started getting like blogging stuff, like campaigns, and then I started to make a little money there, a little side money, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And so I was doing that. I was working part-time jobs, and I was like, I'm just going to stay open to the inspiration because I think whatever I do next, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be the girl boss thing was happening. And I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. And after working in Hollywood, I'm like, I don't want to work for anybody. I want to figure out something for myself. And so I had this interview it was just a small gig, and it was this healer who lived like in the hills of LA, and he needed someone to interview him for his YouTube channel. So it was an interview to be an interviewer. So I drive to his house, and he had like a house office and everything. And I go inside and I'm like, oh my gosh, I felt like I was home for the first time in my life. It was the craziest feeling ever. Like
Mhm.
I started crying.
Yes. And I think this is really important because this is the feeling that we're looking for
Yes. Yes.
when
And
you're
so,
like really, and it, everyone is going to be discovering something different, but it's like when you know that, because some people's purpose is their career, but I look at our purpose as just our way of being that serves others.
yeah, I
Like,
agree.
I'm a channel for love and wisdom and empowerment. Like that's my purpose. And I do that in many different ways, right? But it's like, so it's like, but that's how it feels when you're doing it is like, oh my God, I get to do this. It's my deepest privilege. Like I'm home. I would do this like all day long if I could, right? And that's what I'm hearing that you're saying.
No, it's so true. So, so anyway, we ended up talking about everything except the interview gig. We were talking about lives and everything, and so he said, go in there. He had a room full of crystals, like hundreds of crystals, and he said, go in there and just take two crystals that resonate with you. And I didn't know anything about crystals, and so I went in there, and of course, I took the pink one because I love pink, and then I took a purple one. And it was so funny because he said to me, he was like, I told you we would meet again. I'm just like, this is so crazy. I can't even, like it's so like woo woo LA, but then it's so real. And it's one of those stories, when I tell people, I'm like, I know it sounds a little woo woo, but like when you're feeling it, oh God, I knew I knew him. Like I fell in love with him, not in a romantic way, but I fell in love with that man. And he fell in love with me too. It's crazy.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I mean, and I do believe that we have certain people that we resonate with,
mhm.
meant to support us in our purpose, and whether or not you
Exactly.
believe in sacred contracts and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So after that, I put the two crystals on my mantle, and I was meditating, and I thought, I just had this inspiration that came to me, and it was like, you're gonna make a yoga wear line inspired by healing crystals. It's so funny. I mean, I had never created fashion before. I'd never been in fashion. Also, the thing is, this was over a decade ago. So yoga clothes were not everybody was making yoga clothes. Nike was making stuff for runners and other activewear people, but it was not making yoga gear. And Lululemon had the market on the yoga gear, but I didn't even know about Lululemon until my roommate told me about it and I saw all the girls in yoga class wearing it. Lululemon was not mainstream either. It was for yogis. It was very niche. And then there were a couple of other small yoga brands. And I just saw a market for it. I was like, so I'm actually an OG of the yoga gear world. And and so I made these I mean, that's a whole other story of how, I mean, that wasn't an easy road. I was having to go, there wasn't drop ship companies you could just find online to do it. No, I
Right.
actually went to all the manufacturers downtown LA with the printing I needed, which was dye sublimation printing. They were all owned by Korean, Korean families. And they just wanted too much money. So I was trying to negotiate with them and everything. And then actually, I found this one Chinese family that owned a warehouse. And they were like, yeah, we can do it for the price that you want. But I was about to give up. I was about to be like, this is too difficult. I don't know why you let me on this path when I can't even afford to do this. And then I found these people who were just incredible to do it. So they were all manufactured downtown Los Angeles. And then I went from 3 pairs to 6 pairs to 9 pairs. And then I started making other stuff. But before I started making the other stuff to sell them. And then it's like now I have these leggings. How do I sell them? So I was going around to all the open markets in LA and vending there, which barely sold anything. Super frustrated. Again, why did you lead me here? Like I'm not making any money and spending a lot of spending time and money. And then I thought Instagram was, only had been on the market a few years. It was so open, it was new. So what I started to do was just target girls that were yogis, like hashtag yoga girl, hashtag. I started to message them and tell them about my crystal inspired yoga wear line and gave them discounts. And then I started a brand ambassador program before everybody else was doing it. And then it just blew up. And then I was selling all over the world. My room was like a packing distribution center. And and I was selling all over the world. Like my two first sales, I'll never forget it. Canada and South Korea. I mean, how crazy is that? And I was like, an international business. So
No, but I mean, I love your story because I think that most people get too scared when they feel confused.
yeah,
I don't know how to put one foot in front of the other. And
yeah,
when they're in a corollary situation to trying to sell yoga gear at, open markets all over LA, like, and being frustrated, it's like, why did you lead me here? Am I supposed to give up? It's like, that's a metaphor for all of those moments. I mean, I can't even tell you how many moments I had like that when I first started out coaching. Like, I'm not any good at this. Why am I doing this? Why am I putting all this energy out and not getting anything back? Right. It's like, I mean, that was in like 2014. Um,
yeah.
but like I think everyone who is saying, okay, now my worth is not based on what I do. I'm inherently worthy. What's my purpose? When we try to do that experiment, we meet up with all this resistance. Like, how do we still hear our intuition? And that's, I think, the question that I have.
For me,
Yeah, after hearing that, because it sounds so seamless for you. It's like you just kept going. Okay, I'm failing. What did I learn? I'm keeping going. Okay, I'm failing. What did I learn? Keeping going. It sounds so seamless for you. So, like, how do you break that down for other people?
well, what's really interesting is because I feel those moments very intensely. I get down, I get sad, I get frustrated. I start yelling at my spirit guides and angels. Why? Like I feel all of that. But I made a choice after I went through the depression because I'm like, I had done things that I felt like I should do and that would make me look cool. And now I'm doing things from a different place. I'm doing things for my soul. So, and I'm choosing to trust. I made a choice. So I think it's about a choice, right? And I became, my friend said this, which I thought was so cute. So I say it all the time. She says, "You're very good at following the breadcrumbs the universe leaves for you." And I do think I am very good at that. And that's the trusting. I chose to trust and I'm disciplined, right? So all of these things come together. I'm being disciplined about choosing to trust because I know not trusting led me in a dark path to a dark place that I don't want to be. So regardless, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm taking a leap of faith over here, but still, I think this is better than that feeling. Nothing's worse.
Yeah,
So I'm going to choose to trust and keep going. And so that's one of the ways I think that dark time really helped me too. Cause like, I don't want to go back there. Let me just keep going here, even though I'm
yes,
scared. I rather be scared and keep going here and feel better than over there and just it be awful, be hell. So, and I just, when I'd reach a point like with the manufacturer, right? My friend told me I was really frustrated. I was like, this is not going to happen. It was too expensive. And she goes, just don't think about it for the weekend. Just take the weekend and really put it out of your mind. Go do something fun. Just don't think about it. And I was like, okay, she's right. Because I was obsessing. And then come that Monday, I got an email from the Chinese manufacturer that's like, yeah, we can do it for the price you want. And I'm like, whoa, I was about to give up. And I think that when that happens, that's a signal to me that you're on the right path. Keep going. It broke open. Go.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I operate. I kind of try to operate. I have a real affinity with water. I always want to live by the water. Like I told you, I put my shame into the ocean, threw my shame into the
Yeah.
ocean. I love water and I love baths. I take a bath almost every day. Um, so with I like to think of my life like I'm flowing like water. You know, if I can't go over here, then I'm going to flow here and I'm going to keep going where I'm determined and
Mm-hmm.
but I'm also flexible. And that's a really funny like line to walk is being
Yes.
flexible but yet being determined. Because
Yes.
like my determination isn't about the thing. It wasn't about the leggings. It was about following my path.
Right. Exactly.
I was willing to go where I needed to go with it. And what's really interesting about this whole business I started, it started to do really well. And then I didn't have to work part-time jobs anymore. And but I had this I got this inspiration to write a book. I never thought I'd write a book. I was never like, oh, I want to be an author. That was never a thing. And then all of a sudden, I had this inspiration, and it was like, "You're going to write a book." And I was like, "Whoa, that's cool!" You know, like
Right. Totally. I know.
I have no idea how I'm going to do that. Just no idea how I was going to start the yoga wear line, but I'm doing it. And so, but I was like, you know what, though? I'm going to take my time with this. I'm not going to rush this. I'm not going to bulldoze this. I'm going to organize my life and organize my business to be mobile so I can leave the country for 2 years and travel the world, live in different places, and then write this book. And I want to take as long as it needs. I don't want to push myself to write. I had no agent, I had no publishing company behind me. I was just a girl that wanted to write a book. So I moved abroad. I started to write this book, and I lived in Bali for a year and I would go do my yoga to connect, to relax. Then I would go sit at a cafe. And if felt inspired to write that day, I would write. If I didn't feel inspired to write, I wouldn't write. And I just operated like that. And the days I didn't want to write, I didn't shame myself. I'd go to a temple, I'd go on a walk, I'd go get a massage, just I'd chill. Then and then after Bali, I moved to Berlin for a year and then and finished the book there. But most of it was written in Bali. And COVID hit. Oh, also while I was living abroad, my sales started to go down. Like I was like, oh my gosh, and now all the like a lot of competition was entering the market. Everybody and their mother was making yoga leggings,
Right.
making yoga leggings. There's this brand Aloe Yoga, Beyond Yoga, and I'm like, oh my God. It was so much competition that my sales just started declining. And I'm like, okay, I freaked out for a little bit and I was sad for a little bit. But then I was like, you know what? I'm trusting again. I'm choosing to trust. Now I'm on this book thing. So let me just keep going. I'm still making enough money. I'll figure out a way to make money and I'm just going to keep going. Well, then COVID hits. Okay. So I go back home.
I'm laughing. It's not funny, but I mean, it's funny. Like, oh, like, what are they going to throw at you next? Right.
Right. Right. It's kind of like, oh my gosh. Okay. COVID hits. I go home. I'm with my parents now because my place in LA is still rented out. And oh, by the way, all my stuff is still in Berlin because I was in Ireland at the time when the borders started shutting down.
Hmm.
So if I went back to Germany, I wouldn't be able to go back to the US. So I had to leave
Right.
Dublin. So I came home with just a backpack and I told my parents, I'm like, you have to buy me underwear. Like, go to the store, give me underwear, give me shoes, give me a workout outfit. So I have something when I get home. They're like, okay. So now I'm home with my parents. And I was like, I'm going to write a book proposal. And it was nice. I didn't have to worry about money. I had food, I had shelter. Like the basics are taken care of. The yoga wear line isn't really making money anymore. So I'm like, okay, at least I'm at home, not worrying. So I was like, let me concentrate on getting an agent. So again, with crazy things following the path. So I'm emailing, I just Google non fiction literary agents. I'm emailing the agents, going down a list. So emailed this one agent. She emails me back pretty immediately and says, this isn't for me, but I sent it to this other agent I think it would be perfect for. Well, the agent she had sent it to was the next agent I was going to email.
Mm.
Okay, which was crazy. So, and then I did email the whole list. So that agent who she had sent it to wanted to sign me, and then another agent wanted to sign me. And I was like, whoa, this is the first time in my life where like two people want me. Usually it's like hustle, 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 lucky if you get one. And now it's like, whoa, two. So I went with the one who was the one that one agent sent it to. And her name's Marilyn. I went with Marilyn. And then for 2.5 years, Marilyn had my book proposal and was like sending it out strategically, and it was just getting rejected. So I was rejected for 2.5 years. At this time, my dad got sick with cancer and he's dying. And I'm doing social media marketing for companies, small businesses to help that, to make some side money. So here I am. My father's dying. I'm making side money doing social media gigs. My activewear line, I mean, a few sales here and there, but nothing I can live off of. And my book is being rejected. And all through that time, I did not get depressed.
Wow.
I was really sad and devastated about my father, but that's very different than being defeated. I wasn't
Oh, yeah.
defeated.
No, absolutely. Grief is healthy if you have self-compassion. Depression is helplessness.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was it it describing it like that, it's like that was a really brutal time. But because of all of the work that I had done and all the things I had learned, I knew the sun was going to come out again. And so I was literally just every day trying to enjoy small things in my life, like my cappuccino in the morning, the time I had with my father. And I was like, I will figure things out. I will, even if I have to, with the book, if I have to self-publish, I'll self-publish. That's fine. I was like, I still believe, I still trust. I think everything's going to be okay. And I just really let that project go. I let the book project go, and that's so important. What I realize now is that once you do something and you got it to where it needs to be, you have to know when it's your time to let go. And
Hmm.
because otherwise you'll choke it to death, and you'll choke all the life and air out of it, and you'll kill
Yep.
it. So if I
Hmm.
was obsessed about it, I probably would have taken it from my agent, would have self-published, and wouldn't have been definitely not as great as it is now. And so instead, let it go, concentrating on my dad. 2 months before my father passes away, two publishing companies had held a bidding war on my book.
Whoa.
And I got a fat advance that is very rare for a first time author. And it was so cool because I was at home with my parents. So my dad heard me on all my Zoom calls, and he heard people from the publishing companies like praising it, and they're loving the idea that, because my premise is that confusion is a virtue. And they say that no one has written about this before. And they also said that most self-help books are just replicas of other self-help books, but they're like, your stuff's really unique. This is a unique concept and everything. And I was like, what? I was like pinching myself. I'm like, is this real? Am I in? Or is this another dimension I'm in? I'm gonna have to go back to the other dimension where I'm getting rejected. Because when you're rejected for 2.5 years,
Yeah,
part of you is like, maybe it's not so great or something, even though
sure.
you believe in yourself, you still have those thoughts. And I was just like, I honestly, my main feeling, people are like, oh, you must feel so proud. I go, pride never was a feeling. I said, my feeling was gratitude.
Yep.
because that wasn't me. That was this, I did my part, but then they did their part. And they did it before my father passed at the most beautiful moment. I'm like getting chills. I literally got on my knees and just started praying. And I was like, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Because my father was an immigrant from Italy and he didn't have, a formal education beyond high school. And so he did everything to like make sure we went to college and got good educations. And, he really loved accolades and because he took it as a reflection of his work as well. And so I was like, oh my God, that was my gift to him before he passed away. And I know he's been a part of the whole process since then because funny things have happened. Like, they didn't want me on the book. Like, there's a little picture of me right here on the G.
Oh, yeah.
And they never put new authors on books. But the graphic designer at the publishing company put me on the book. And I was like, whoa. And then the sales team wanted to take me off the book. And I was like, listen, guys, you do what you think. It doesn't matter to me. Like, I like myself on the book, but if you don't want me on it, it's fine. And they're like, well, we're going to ask a big marketing person and see what they think, and they'll be the final say. And I'm like, okay, I'm on the book. And I'm like, that was my dad. That was my dad. 100%. Then they told me I was gonna have to audition to be considered to do the audio of the book because doing audio is really tough. I understand why it's a professional gig.
Oh my
Um,
God, no, it's like that's why I never made an audio of my book because I
I,
recorded the audios for my online course and like it was a lot of work. So
oh my God, that's a grind. But I really wanted to do it. And I just got an email. We're going to pay you this much. Let us know a good time to set you up in the studio in LA. And I was like, oh my God, I don't even have to audition for it. This is crazy. And I was like, yeah. And then I went and I finished the audiobook last week. Oh my God. What a grind. I was so happy when that was finished. That was one of the most challenging things I have ever done in my life.
Right,
It,
that's what I'm saying. Although it's a labor of love, I want to say, right?
oh yeah, no, I was going to do it and I was happy to do it. And a part of me loved doing it. A part of me was petrified doing it. A part of me was exhausted. I mean, this weekend I was just on my couch the whole weekend. I'm like, I can't talk to anybody. My voice is gone. I'm like, this, I can't.
Yeah. Well, and that's really another important principle is that when you do a big push, even if it's your purpose, you still need to rest
Oh
after.
yeah.
Um, and that's what
Yeah.
I'm hearing out of what you're saying, because people might come in and be like, oh, yeah, well, it was easy for her because she had privilege. It's like, yes, and like it was hard for you to stay spiritually connected. Like that's what I'm hearing. Not that it was challenging, but your gift is that you have the discipline to do the practices that help you to stay spiritually connected. And I think that's where most people get stuck is that, I mean, at least for me, when I was starting my business and, I wasn't making as much as I wanted to, and I, like had all these challenges, when I did meditate, challenge my limiting beliefs, really center myself, make sure to, let go of the shame and the guilt and from the past and all of the things that you're talking about. When I'm disciplined, then I could keep going. But it's
Yeah.
so hard to have the discipline when you're scared, confused, right? And so, like, what was it that helped you to stay focused on having the faith when things were getting tough?
I just didn't think there was another option,
Mm,
honestly. Like I said before, the other option I knew was hell. So I also I don't I take this life seriously, but also not seriously so much at the same time. Like
mhm.
like I was talking about this the other day with someone, and I'm like, when it's my time to go, it's my time to go. Like, and I'll be going home, and I'm okay with that. And so I don't see this as the end all be all because I am very spiritual and I do believe in the spirit world. And I believe you go to a amazing place. So for me, it's not no one's getting out of this alive. Let's be real here.
Mhm.
I don't know. People act like sometimes they're going to be here forever. You're not. Everything is temporary. Your pain is temporary. Your joy here is temporary. Your lunch is temporary. Your age is temporary. Everything's temporary. So it's like, at some point you kind of got to tap into that a little bit and
Mhm.
go, why the hell not?
Yep.
Go it to the wind and just go. I mean, I'm going to tell you in that audio session, and just a little background about me as a kid, I was a very bad reader because one of my eyes moved way more quickly than the other eye.
Huh.
So I had to go to this very expensive eye therapy. My mom's like, that was so expensive.
Oh my God.
A lot of trouble reading. And then I did the eye therapy, and then I also had a tutor. And it's so funny. I remember her, Carolyn O'Rourke, who has recently passed away. And I remember she told me, and and she told me that reading is like ice skating. It's like
Um,
floating on the page. And I have always been terrified of reading my entire life. So terrified that in college, I feel like really ridiculous and kind of bad about this, but this is how I'm just to explain how terrified I was. In college, I had this German instructor who I think really liked me. She thought I was really smart because I do come off like confident and very, boisterous. And so she would call on me all the time to read in the class. And this was at USC. I'm in a good college, everything. And it would petrify me every time she did. So I went up to her after class one day and I told her, I said, um, could you please not call on me to read because I'm dyslexic? I lied. And I told her I was dyslexic. And I don't lie. I'm not a liar, never have been, but I was so petrified. And I felt so shameful about being scared of reading because you feel like, well, I mean, kids read, like what, I feel silly. And I told her I was dyslexic, and she's like, "Oh, okay, I won't call on you anymore." And I was like, "Okay, thank you." It's hard for me. So, and it's so funny that I go on to write a book that I'm probably going to have to read everywhere, which
yeah.
is conquering my fear, right? Not that wasn't actually conscious. I wasn't consciously doing that, but there was something in me that's like, you're going to get over this. And then so now I'm in a studio, and it's so funny. Henry Winkler is in the booth next to me. He's in the next studio, right? So I'm like, oh my gosh. I can't believe I'm here with my own book. This is crazy. The Fawns is right next to me in the other booth.
That's hilarious.
Uh, I know. And so all of my fear from childhood about reading hit me. I almost at one, and then this one day I was really stumbling a lot. And then it's like all of that childhood insecurity and shame and not being able to read good and all it just came up for me. And I wanted to run out of there and say, I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm sorry. I gotta go. I wanted to bolt out of there. And I was like, no, you're doing this. And I remembered Carolyn O'Rourke, my tutor from when I was like 7 years old, how reading was like ice skating. And I would do this with my
Um,
fingers in the booth. I would when I would read, I would do this. And then it was so amazing that I started to do so well once I got the hang of it that even the one editor guy comes up to me afterward. He's like, "You're doing an amazing job." He's like, "Your voice is so great for this. You read so well." He's like, "You're really killing it." And I'm like, "Oh, oh my God, thank you so much. You have no
wow.
idea how much that means to me." But so I was conquering a fear. I conquered.
Yeah. That's a really inspiring story. I want to reflect back what you were doing because I'm an NLP practitioner. And so for the listeners, because you were doing this on the video, you're taking your fingers and sort of um, putting them in front of you like you're skiing,
Yeah.
and so what that does from a neurolinguistic perspective, you're saying to yourself, reading is like skiing, and you're getting your body in this flow state. like through this physical anchor. And
Yes.
so in a way that's like self-hypnosis, that I am a good reader, reading is like skiing, I'm in the flow. And so you're able to work with your psyche that way, and so that's my takeaway from what you're saying, is that if you find the right mindset, beliefs, and you're disciplined with the practices to integrate those beliefs into your present moment actions, which is
Yep.
what you're doing with, hearing, I'm going to create this yoga line, hearing, I'm going to write a book, that didn't come from your ego.
No.
Right? That's why you're not proud, right? If it came from your ego, you'd be proud. It's like you're grateful when you sense that it's your purpose, and then you're allowing yourself to get out of your own way through the discipline, to the practices that you've discovered work for you. And so that's what's so inspiring about your journey, because I think that a lot of people get lost in the confusion because they don't know the right mindset and the right practices to get through it. And there's many different practices, right? You mentioned a lot of them. There's a lot of other ones.
Yeah.
And so I think that your book is so inspiring. And so why don't you talk about, I know it's time to end the interview. We can keep going, but I believe that we're going to release this before your book releases. And so I know that you have a giveaway. So do you want to talk about that?
Yes, I have an awesome giveaway. So the book is coming out May 13th. If you buy it before then, you'll be entered to win a 2-night stay in Maui at one of my favorite resorts with an oceanfront room. Also, a $100 gift card to my store and an invite to my book launch party. So I'll give you the giveaway link so they
Mhm.
can go there, get the information and all of that.
Yes, exactly. And I'll put that link below the YouTube video if you're watching this on YouTube, and then in the show notes if you're listening on the podcast platforms. And yes, I believe we can release this like at least a couple of weeks before the book launch. So if you're listening to this, then click the link, buy her book so you can get entered into that giveaway, because you never know. And
Yeah,
who doesn't want to have that space and time to rejuvenate by the ocean, like you're talking about? Um,
exactly. This is what I'm telling people. I'm like, you're going to be in your crystal inspired yoga leggings with your confused girl book on the beach now. Hey, it doesn't sound bad.
right. And like, even whatever your beliefs are, whether you do yoga or not, whether you like leggings or not, whether you like crystals or not, what we're talking about, is the space and the time to do the practices, to drop into your truth,
Exactly.
to process through the emotions, to let go of what doesn't serve us, to identify limiting beliefs, reprogram them, own our worth, connect to our
Yes.
intuition. And that
Amen.
takes space and time.
Yep. Exactly. And you can do it. Anyone can do it.
Yeah. And thank you, because your journey is so inspiring. You um, claim to have this gift of discipline, which is awesome, but that doesn't make it easy,
No.
so
Good. Nothing good is easy, We all have to put in the
exactly.
work.
Yeah, everything that's worth having is worth working for, as they say. And so, it's just been a joy and a pleasure. So I'm leaving this feeling inspired to do my own work, to connect to my own intuition and my own purpose. And I hope that everybody else is also inspired by Giovanna's story. And I encourage everybody to check her out on Instagram, and also to, there's a incentive to get her book before May 13th. But if you're watching this after May 13th, I'm sure that her book is also invaluable for you to see what it takes, and to really hear the details of her story, to inspire you on your own journey to really thrive in this life. Because like you said, it's everything is temporary, and that is what gives life meaning and purpose, that we can really be true to ourselves and to give our gifts while we're here. So,
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
yes. And, may everybody have a purpose and self love filled day. And until next time.